Hello from the annual league meeting. I'm Phil Milani alongside Andrew Mason. Plenty of news to discuss here on this Monday. Mesa, let's start with some things we learned from Broncos president and CEO Joe Ellis, starting with the naming rights.
Yeah, there's no update on that at the present time. Still working on that. Seems like they're in a better spot now than they were a year ago, making some progress. But what's interesting, Phil, I think, is to view naming rights in kind of the grander scheme of things going on at Broncos Stadium at Mile High. They had their best year of business in 2018, in part because of other events going on at the stadium. Concerts, events in the parking lot. They're getting more use out of the stadium. This summer, you've got the Rolling Stones coming in. You've got the Gold Cup, the CONCACAF Gold Cup to be played this summer. Could be a precursor to the World Cup. The Broncos are bidding, along with the city of Denver, are bidding to host games in the 2026 World Cup. They're putting in LED lighting at the stadium. That should help those efforts. But all those things factor into making the stadium more valuable for whatever company chooses to put its name on the venue. Things are trending in the right direction, and I think if they can get the World Cup a few games for 2026, that will take the naming rights even higher.
The biggest thing is to have a stable partner, someone that's going to be with us for a long time, and I'm optimistic that we can get there. It's a big deal. There's a lot of parts to it, and you want to make sure that you have everything buttoned up, and I think someday, hopefully we'll have a firm announcement for everybody.
The other thing that we heard was that Brittany Bolin, daughter of Broncos owner Pat Bolin, expected to rejoin the team in some sort of a senior management role by the end of the year, according to Joe Ellis.
Yeah, that's significant. Of course, you have the trust running the team right now, and they'd like to pass the team on to an heir of Pat Bolin who proves worthy. And certainly Brittany Bolin, she's worked in the organization before. She's gotten the advanced education, now is back in the working world, getting more business experience. But I think she'll be an asset to the Broncos organization when she comes back in. She's very sharp, very knowledgeable, and certainly has a passion for the Broncos and the NFL, and she's done some work at the league office as well. And I mentioned the previous work with the Broncos. She's certainly putting all the things in place, Phil, to where she might position herself to be a very good steward of the organization.
Brittany Bolin continues to do some good work with McKinsey, and I would expect her to. I've had some discussions with her. There's some strategic initiatives, and that her skill set will help us, and I would expect her to be back with the organization within a year.
Those are the two big pieces of information that we heard from President and CEO Joe Ellis. Let's get to some of the things we're expecting to hear tomorrow, starting with some news from the competition committee, possibly.
Yeah, usually they have their press conference on Tuesday, Phil, to talk about rules changes that are passed or failed to pass. And from the Broncos' perspective, the one that's sort of in the spotlight right now is the 4th and 15 proposal to basically replace an onside kickoff in the fourth quarter. There are varying reactions to that. John Mara of the Giants said, it's like arena football, basically. But the fact that it made out of the competition committee shows some positive movement toward this. And John Elway mentioned to me yesterday when we talked to him for an interview on Orange and Blue 760 that being behind a lot the last couple of years is unfortunate, but it sort of kind of puts it in your mind that the onside kickoff, as currently structured, it's not working anymore. The onside kickoff success ratio has dropped from the mid-teens down to 7% with the rules change. Now, 4th and 15, Phil, over the last 11 seasons, it's a 20% success rate. So there may be some who feel it's too far in the other direction, but at the same time, it does generate excitement. If you continue with kickoffs as they are, the onside kickoff, it's going to be a nothing play, a no-hope play. All you're trying to do is get the possibility back close to in line to where it was before the 2018 kickoff rules changes.
There is a little bit of momentum for that, and I think the reason why is because of with the new kickoff rules and the players having to be stationary when the ball is kicked has really dropped the number of onside kicks that have been recovered in half. And so therefore, this is just a way, one time in the fourth quarter, 4th and 15, that gives you probably a better chance, to keep the ball and go on and try to get back into a football game than there would be if you're on the onside kick.
Okay, and the last thing we want to touch on is tomorrow is the coaches' breakfast here in Phoenix. Expected to hear from Vic Fangio maybe for as long as an hour. I'm not sure if Coach Fangio can talk for an hour.
Well, It's a question of whether he gets enough questions that'll determine whether it lasts. But the thing is, Vic Fangio, as we know, he gets right to the point. He's very direct, doesn't tap dance around. He'll tell you what he thinks, but he won't waste any time getting from A to B when he's answering a question. So it might be something where it's only about a 40 or 45-minute interview rather than 1 hour, but certainly a lot's going to come up. I'm sure there are going to be questions about free agency, what the Broncos have done, what they may do in the next few weeks. The signing period isn't over yet. There's still a lot of talented players out there filling the market that can help out maybe on 1 or 2 year deals. Probably some draft chatter. I'm sure he'll be asked about the fact the Broncos are reportedly going to be bringing in all 4 of the top quarterbacks in this year's draft class for meetings. Kyler Murray from Oklahoma, Dwayne Haskins, Ohio State, Drew Lock, Missouri, and Daniel Jones, Duke. I'm sure that's going to be a topic. And I guess we'll probably hear some questions from the Chicago media as well, asking about his time with the Bears and even some personnel things there. So it'll be a good discussion.
All right, well, that is the very latest here from the annual league meeting in Phoenix, Arizona. For Andrew Mason, I'm Phil Milani.